So to apply to a CSU, no matter if you're upper division or lower division transfer student, the fall transfer application will open on October 1st, and it typically closes on November 30th. But this year it's closing on December 1st. And the reason why is because of the Thanksgiving holiday. And so when that happens, after years and years and years of complaining, they finally changed it last year where, okay, we'll look at where Thanksgiving falls and then adjust the deadline accordingly. And so next year, though, it could be back to November 30th. So you have to pay attention to that, okay? And the application does not open until October 1st. So don't go and mess with it right now. Just wait until October 1st to start doing that. And towards the end of the class, I will be showing you the physical application, okay? If you are looking to transfer as a spring transfer student, so maybe you're going to finish everything up at the end of next fall, and you want to transfer in spring of 27, then you would be applying August 1st through the 31st, okay? And that date doesn't shift. I've never seen that shift. And you go to the website calstate.edu/apply, and that's where the application is held, okay? So there's lots of help through the Transfer Center. I'll show you the calendar here in just a second. But there's no essay required of the CSU application. If you apply to EOP at the CSU, then there are 7 questions you have to answer, but it's like 1,500 characters or something, you know, like letters. So it's not very long, and the questions are just about you and your history and your family's history and things like that. You are going to report all college classes and all grades in the application, no matter what, okay? And we have a Canvas resource library that you can join. I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And then again, if your school or your major is impacted, you need to see if there's a supplemental application. So last year I had a student come in for counseling, I want to say in like March or April, and he told me that he missed the supplemental application. So I had put it on his ed plan, and he just forgot about it. And so he was denied from Sac State. So it's important that you look at that. There's not a ton of schools that require it, but you don't want to miss it if yours does. So talk to your counselor about that if it's impacted. If they mention the word impacted, you know, ask about that to make sure that you're all good. Okay, let's show you all the resources on the Transfer Center website. So first of all, and I'll put an announcement in the class, but Transfer Day is coming up, okay? So September 3rd in the Dining Commons from 9:30 to 1, and there'll be about, 45 to 50 campuses. I did hear not a lot of the UCs are coming because they're having a conference that day, which is sad. Okay, so if you click here on the calendar, it will show you what's happening in the Transfer Center. So let's go over to October, okay? So you can see here that there's App Q&A, Transfer Talks, App Q&A. So lots of help, okay? They even have a Saturday, it's called Tackle Transfer, where they will help you with the application. And then you can see that in November as well, okay? So a lot of help. So what we ask is that you start the application and then you come in and get your questions answered so that you're not sitting in the lab creating your account and that type of thing. I will tell you, if you come in October, it's not as busy, okay? So like if you came October 7th, you may be the only person in there, okay? Maybe you and your friend. So come early and get the help that you need. So lots of help on or from the Transfer Center. The other thing that I mentioned was the resource library. So that is right here, this app help. So then you would come here and sign up with your SRJC credentials and join our Canvas shell, and it will walk you through the CSU application, the UC app, the Common App, what you need to do in the spring. It will talk about those impacted programs. So definitely come on here and join this if you haven't done so already. Okay. All right. So now let's go on here. If I can get the thing to come up. Okay, so the cost of attending a CSU. So they estimate that if you're living at home, it's between $18,000 and $20,000 a year. If you're living on or off campus, it's $25,000 to $30,000. Now this includes housing, okay? So if you are looking at Sonoma State, you already know what your housing cost is. You know, it's different, okay? The tuition fee is $6,084 per academic year for students enrolled in more than 6 units. So where at SRJC we charge a per unit fee, the CSU charges if you are full-time or part-time, if you're undergrad or grad. Okay, so if you're a graduate student, the price goes up. And then each campus has mandatory fees that students pay. Let's see if this link is going to work for us. Yeah, it's on the other screen here. Okay, so here's the cost per campus. So you can see undergraduate full-time, they're all $6,084. Okay, but if you look at let's look at one at the front so we can, or the top, so we can see what they are. So if you look at Humboldt, their health facility fee is $66. Like, I don't know why, but that's a big difference between Dominguez Hills and all these others that are only $6. Their health services, $734. Instructional related materials, $674. Okay, and then so forth. This is $0, student success fee. So maybe that kind of offsets the others that are higher. I'm not quite sure. And so you can see for Humboldt, the total, let me move myself out of here. The total is $8,397. Whereas for Dominguez Hills, it's $7,454. Okay. Sonoma State actually has some pretty high fees, but you can see Cal Poly San Luis. What is this column? Oh, that's the subtotal. Let's see what's so high on theirs. The materials, services, and facilities. And maybe that's because as a Cal Poly technical, they require more materials. I have no idea. But it's interesting. The student center, look at all of these. So a lot of these campuses have built student centers in the last few years. SAC, they have a beautiful center. It's called The Well. Northridge, they have a really pretty center. So you can see, you know, how high that is. So students are paying for that. It wasn't just built. They're putting that on the backs of students. Okay. So this is just your fees for tuition, your tuition and fees. This is not housing. This is not books. This is not supplies. This is just housing. Okay. I'm sorry. Not housing. This is just tuition and fees. So I have this link on this week's in Canvas, and you can research this yourself. Okay. All right. So reach out with any questions. The one thing I'm not going to go into in detail is dual enrollment at the CSU. But if this is your first semester out of high school, you should look at doing a dual enrollment with the CSU and the UC. And the Transfer Center will be having workshops on that. And I will put an announcement out about that, because if there's no reason not to do it, it's not going to hurt you, but it guarantees admission to a CSU campus. So I'd get on that. Okay. So be sure that you look out for that announcement. Okay. If you have questions on the CSU, don't hesitate to reach out.